My name is Peter Stanbury and I am the facilitator for the Comica Festival, and my job over the last few weeks has just been organising the Comica Comiket, and today it's been a really successful day. It was a test event. We were seeing whether it would work here at the Royal National Hotel, and we think that it's been really, really good. The house has been packed since we started, so we're very pleased with that.
Yeah, I'm Paul Gravett and I work with Peter. I'm also the director of the Comica Festival. We've done Comiket now in a few places, the ICA, and last summer we had a special one in a marquee in Battersea Park, part of the Pump House Gallery Hypercomic show. But we thought we needed to find a new venue, and so Royal National Hotel Comic Marts have been a staple of the comic scene, and Rob Barrow very kindly gave us a chance to use the Ellis Room, the Warren Ellis Room from now on, as far as I'm concerned, to put on the show today. And it has gone, as Peter said, gone fantastically well. Really good turnout, really good atmosphere, a real genuine buzz, I think. And of course it was Peter who came up, which you'd explain, about the main new attraction, which was the drawing parade.
The idea was to get as many cartoonists drawing live over the afternoon as was feasibly possible, and we managed to get somebody drawing every half an hour, 25 minutes. Yeah. And it's been great because everybody's just been transfixed by people drawing live. I think actually that people who draw and use their hands are something of a mystery to people who don't. So it's something that is a valuable experience, I think. And also, of course, the cartoonists have been very flattered to do the event themselves. So, you know, they've been really excited about it. I think they've been a bit nervous about it, and I think they've got renewed confidence now.
Okay, well, one of the big stars definitely today is Charlie Adler, because literally right now, in fact I think only on last Friday, the first episode of The Walking Dead was broadcast on British TV, and Walking Dead is his big hit series going on right now for Image, written by Robert Curtin, a zombie apocalyptic soap opera. But in fact Charlie goes right back to the UK self-publishing scene as well. He was involved with like cartoonist Dangereux. It was put back in the 90s, I think, and he self-published a brilliant graphic novel written by Robin Morrison called White Death, a war comic published both in English and French. And he's a very, very gifted adventure realist artist, and here he is drawing some of his famous zombie characters.
Thank you, Charlie.
Hi, my name's Gary Norfield. I write and draw Derek Sheep for Beano Max every month, a 2-page comic strip. I also write and draw a 2-page comic strip for National Geographic Kids. I'm also working on a book for Walker Books. It's going to be like a 60-page mad book about some dinosaurs I've invented. So yeah, that keeps me very busy at the moment. That's my work. I guess my main influences would be, as a kid anyway, growing up was reading Peanuts and Snoopy. That's definitely filtered through into my sort of Derek Sheep. I loved Asterix the Gaul, had all those books in Marvel comics as a kid. I read everything as a kid, but generally there was a comic called Tantalising Stories, which came out. I only did 6 issues back in around the early 90s. Major influence for me. There was 2 artists in there. There's Jim Woodring and Mark Martin. 2 very different people, but they're really influenced by it.
Yeah, I think so. We've got some.
But I always loved writing stories at school and drawing. But actually, I was always writing stories. That was my big thing: creative writing, coming up with mad stories. But I was always good at art, and then always reading comics. So yeah, absolutely from an early age. And in the future, I'd actually like to kind of see if I can move into children's books as opposed to comics, because the monthly deadlines are driving me crazy, turning me grey. I like to have a little bit of time. 6 months on one project would be really nice. So that's my plans.
Currently living in Oxford and working on Freak Angels, which is an online webcomic which is collected in trade and written by Warren Ellis. Produce 6 pages of that every week, and also doing my own self-published stuff on the side. Just finished a short comic called Signal, which I'm sort of distributing and printing myself. And I used to work on The Tempest, which is a manga Shakespeare book. I wasn't sort of technically trained in comics. I went to university to study animation and found the two were really sort of compatible in terms of skill sets. So my style is quite heavily influenced by animation as well as comics.
I'll be around tonight.
They moved into comics because there's much more creative control involved. You sort of, unless you're a director in animation, you're just doing other people's work or replicating styles or so on. And it's really, comics is really hands-on, absolutely kind of creatively rewarding. There's a lot to do, but you get to do it all yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
In terms of stuff for the future, just more of the same really. I'd love to continue producing comics. Ideally, I'd really like to get a chance to sort of write my own comics and produce sort of some longer ones.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Ed Pinsent. I'm a comics artist who lives in London, but I was born in Liverpool. I happen to be here today at this Comica Festival because my good friends Paul Gravett and Peter Stanbury, who are organising it, invited me along and offered me a bit of space so I could sell my new book, which happens to have come out this year. So that's about the strength of it. It does feel very strange. I used to come to comic fairs quite a lot, but that was 25 years ago. Now I don't come to comic fairs so much. So it feels odd. It's been wonderful as well. It's been a very exciting day. Yes, the new book is simply called Magic Mirror, a collection of comics by Ed Pinsent, and it's about slightly over 300 pages, I think, of material which I've done since I started drawing in 1982. And there was a fellow called David Ricks who approached me last year, completely out of the blue. So happens he runs a publishing organisation called Ebon Vale Press. They publish British fantasy writers, I think, and he found my comics online, bought some of my comics on eBay, bought some of my comics from me directly, and then said, would you like to do a book? Much to my surprise. So I never even met the fellow, but I could tell that he was very genuine about what he was planning to do. And I agreed to the plan, and I did all the work of scanning the stuff myself. So I looked up my whole collection of material and made my own selection and scanned all this stuff in. His main motivation was he wanted to reprint a book I've done called The Saga of the Scroll, starring Wendy Wilberforce, and that was originally published in book form by Peter Pavement a long time ago, over 10 years ago now, I think, maybe 15 years ago. But it sold out, and I was never happy with what Peter Pavement did with it. It came out A5, and I really thought the artwork deserved something slightly better. And this was David Ricks's motivation. He thought he'd love to see it A4 size as well. So he said, can you do half of the book Wendy Wilberforce, and the other half just your own selection of material? And that's how it ended up. In terms of what else I've done in the past, I've had lots of characters I invented right very near the start of my comics career. There's Primitive, the warrior who wears a mask. There's Drake Ullingsworth, the detective who has a talking dog. There's Henrietta, who's a mad, wanton woman with long red hair. And there's other characters who only exist in single stories. There's the Astorial series of stories, which is set in a vast imaginary hotel. There's one-off things I've done, motivated by whatever needs to be said at any given time, whatever story needs to be told. So I've come up with a lot of things in my time, I would say. And the Magic Mirror book just represents a small smattering drawn from that past. I have read an awful lot of books and comics and seen a tremendous amount of films as well. Lots of things can be said to influence me, and I will gladly admit to that. But I think with my own work, my biggest influence is myself. It comes direct from my imagination. Yeah, I would say that to any artist who wants to do stuff. I mean, just look into yourself, draw from your own experiences, and create the kind of images and texts and ideas and stories that are your very own. I don't think you can do any better. I certainly couldn't do anything else myself. I've never put pen to paper thinking I'm going to try and emulate a particular drawing style or be influenced by a particular comic in that way. I think as occasionally I have read something and been so impressed by it, but I thought I'm not going to sit down and open that book and have it in front of me and try to copy directly what that artist has done. I'll just try and be true to the spirit of what I recognise as being an imaginative way of working. Really, I think influences are always overrated. I can tell you, it comes from myself, comes from deep inside me.
I